Welcome back to part 3 of your 90-day profitability action plan. The final sprint, we're almost there. We've turned the final corner. Let's dive in. So for this last 30-day sprint, days 61 to 90, this is a discipline challenge. Profitability needs to be a habit before we can scale your business. So in these final 30-day sprint, we're going to optimize team and operational scaling. We're going to maximize profit per project and fix your labor model. And then we're also going to future-proof your profitability and make sure you're building in some financial systems so you can make sure that you never go off track again. This is a topic close to my heart. It's what I do for all my clients. I love that final one. So the objective of this one, profitability is now strong after the first 60 days of this sprint, but it needs to be sustainable and scalable, which is what we're going to address today. Step 7 in our process, we're going to optimize team and operational scaling. The main point here is that you can only expand once your margins are locked in. You can't make big moves just because you had one good month. The first tip, determine when to hire. No new hires before 200K revenue per employee. So revenue per headcount, revenue per full-time employee is a really key metric. Look it up, analyze your business and use it to work out if you are overstaffed or how efficient you are. Point number 2. Ensure hiring is profit driven. So a rough rule of thumb here is if the business is doing about 15% net profit consistently, you can consider hiring someone. If you consistently a 5% net profit or break even, you can't afford to hire someone. That's the honest truth. You might be able to swap a staff member out for the same paycheck, but anything above 15%, we can start to have that conversation, as well as having that 2 months cash cushion that I spoke about on the previous video. 70-30 rule. 70% of the team should be billable and no more than 30% should be management or non-billable. So you want that bottom 70% of your pyramid to all be working on billable paid client work. And that ensures that they can pay for the salaries of the top 30%. So getting that ratio and keeping that ratio is really important. I mean, ideally, it's 90% billable. That isn't a maximum, but that's the minimum that you should have there doing billable work. Negotiate better contractor rates. So contractors can be expensive. Can we hammer them down? Have a suite of, or a bench of contractors that you can play off against each other, so none of them are ripping you off and you're not relying too much on one, because they can leave. And I've seen it, they can steal clients as well. So make sure that you've got a few that you use to minimize your risk and to make sure that you're getting the best rate possible. And also consider the benefits of contractors. They're flexible. They can scale up when you're busy, scale down when you're not, versus the in-house role, which is obviously cheaper. Someone on payroll generally is cheaper, but it's a longer term commitment. So you need to work out which situation works best for that particular one. Step 7, final point, optimize team incentives. So we want to tie bonuses to profitability, not just revenue growth. So that's really important. If you are going to have a bonus or profit share program that is tied to actual profits of the business and not just revenue, because we need to make sure that everyone's incentives are aligned with the founders. That's step 7 done. Step 8, we're going to maximize profit per project and fix the team mix. So as projects get busier, we can often find that those margins are eroded because things start to break, we get less efficient. We need to make sure that these jobs are priced and staffed for profit every time, and we don't lose margin as we grow. Point number 1 in this is to recalculate your true delivery costs. So you need to factor in all of those additional delivery costs like freelancers, software, any inefficiencies as the projects get bigger, the delays, the back and forths with just managing the bigger project. Make sure that that true delivery cost is budgeted in when you're pricing up these projects, because they can become unwieldy. Next one, similar to the client profitability test that we talked about on the previous video, set a project profitability threshold. So any project that's not returning 50% gross margin, similar to the clients, the ongoing retainer clients, needs to be repriced, rescoped, or stopped. We always want that magic 50% gross margin for any engagement, any retainer that we're working on. Next point is to re-engineer underperforming service lines. So we need to cut or reprice anything that's draining resources. And that could be a certain department, that can be a certain product within a department. Work out where the leaks are in the leaky bucket, and we need to reprice it. Or if we're not good at it, just stop doing it. Stop kind of pushing ahead with things that we don't enjoy doing, that we don't have the right staff for. Focus on the things we are good at and that are profitable. Senior staff should focus only on high value tasks. And this is a huge hidden profitability killer, is when you get senior staff in the business working on low margin things or things that they like doing, but we're not getting enough cash for. Get them to only be working on that high value, high margin stuff that we're paying them for, and automate or delegate all that low margin stuff to the intern, to juniors. Do we even need to be doing it? Because they can often be, we're paying them a big paycheck. Are we getting a return on investment for that big paycheck? And then finally, implement workload balancing. So this is to make sure a huge double negative is when we're over servicing low margin work, and we need to prioritize the profitable service lines and make sure they're the ones that are getting highest priority. Often the low paying clients are often the most demanding, and then we over service them. So it's like they're not paying as much, they're a pain in the ass, and we're over servicing. It's like a black hole of cash just getting sucked out of your business. So we're dropping that dead weight as soon as possible. And then final step in our 90-day sprint, we're finally here. We're going to future-proof your profitability and your financial systems. So we're going to engineer profit for your business as we navigate the business growth curve, as you scale up to that $10 million business. The first one is a mindset thing. Build financial discipline. So track, measure, adjust your metrics, and actually take action when the dashboard's telling you that you need to. And a really important side point on this one is don't use debt to fund ongoing losses. If things are starting to be consistently break even or losses, you need to take drastic action. Don't start to rely on, other sources of debt like a credit card, or stop paying the ATO and use it to fund extra operations. You need to take action as soon as possible. The next point here is to maintain a one-page financial dashboard. I do for all my clients when we meet monthly. You need to be tracking things like revenue per employee, average billable rate per client, if you've got that time data, really important, and then age receivables, which is your days to get paid, which is a cash flow indicator. The next one here is to establish a non-negotiable profit baseline. So this is kind of connected to the financial discipline one I just mentioned. So if profit margins drop below that magic 15%, you need to adjust your pricing, or you need to adjust your staffing or the client mix. You need to take action when these things are showing you that we're out of balance. So many founders, I think, see things trending, but then get stuck in the mud and don't want to take action. They kind of get analysis paralysis. You need to be that action-orientated founder who will adjust when you see a trend happening that we need to correct. In order to do that, maintaining a rolling cash flow forecast can really help. I review this monthly with all my clients, and you can measure things out like, hey, what if we lost those top 2 clients and we lost 20% of our revenue? What would the business look like? And you can actually start to imagine these futures and adjust costs in advance. Or you may want to delay a hire if things are looking shaky in the sales pipeline. I find the forecast really helps when I show people their future cash balance in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, if they don't take action. And we see that negative trend of the cash, it really helps inspires founders to take some action. And finally, set some clear profitability targets. I would suggest 10% is your minimum, 15% is a baseline, and 20% or above is healthy. And that's where I want all my agency clients to be, is hitting that 20% or above. And having those clear targets to work towards means you need to take action to get there. And hopefully this sprint has helped you spark some ideas about how you can do that. So the key lessons for this final sprint: less waste, less overwork, more profit. Brilliant. And that's it. That's the 90-day profitability roadmap that we ran through. This final sprint was to optimize team, profit per project, and future-proof it. We'll do a separate video on some advanced tactics, but for now, hopefully you got some value out of this 90-day sprint and you've found some margin in your business. And in conclusion, to wrap things up, I would suggest profitability is a choice, is not an accident, and you need to take choices. Even if you're choosing to ignore the numbers, that's a choice, and that's on you. Second point, more revenue doesn't fix bad margins. And this is a really common one I see. People try and sell themselves out of trouble. You need to fix the underlying business model. You need to understand what your true margins are first and fix it first before you add more clients. Of course, you're just filling a leaky bucket and you're creating a bigger problem for yourself. And finally, financial discipline is what separates thriving businesses from struggling ones. Having the ability to say no, to not chase that shiny object, and to stay true to the path and actually take action when the metrics are telling you, I think is gonna stand you in good stead for the long-term success of your business. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get a little bit more detail on this 90-day sprint, get some checklists, please get in touch and we can actually help you execute if you like as well. Get in touch at trimline.co. Thanks for watching.